Hey guys, this is Amber GM here with your June episode of Figuring It Out. Today I'm joined by Crystal Miller. Um, I'm sorry, should I refer to you as Crime Museum? Is that how you go?
No,
Oh,
you
okay,
can
okay,
refer
okay.
to me by my name. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I know some people have like different preferences, but yeah, so we're joined
Oh,
by Crystal Miller today, who's also from my home city of Cleveland. So I'll give her the space to introduce herself and then we'll get into our conversation.
yeah. So my name is Crystal Miller. I attend the Cleveland Institute of Art. I'm an upcoming senior, so I'm really excited about that. I'm
Congrats.
excited for my BFA. I've been
Mhm.
waiting like all these 4 years. And I'm 22. I'm a Sagittarius. I think that's pretty much it for
Nice.
me.
Okay. Yeah. I also see that you have like some shows going on right now. Do you want to tell us a little bit about like
Oh
where you're
yeah.
showing really quick?
So recently I showed at MOCA. It was like a collaborative show, and I actually think it's still up right now. It's coming down soon
Hmm.
though.
I was gonna ask
Um,
because I thought it was still, I'm hoping it's still up. I haven't seen it yet.
yeah, it's
But
still up.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's still up. And I am also in the Cannes Triennial this summer, and I'm going to be showing at the Artist Archives of the Western Reserve. So I'm really excited about that. I have some more upcoming things, but I don't really want to like say yet because they're not like super set in stone, but just know it's going to be really amazing.
No, yes, I'm sure it will be. Her work is beautiful. And of course I'll link it in all of our stuff after. But yeah, so tell me, like, you have lots of big shows and you're still like doing your
I
BFA, which is so
know.
cool.
Yeah,
So tell me how that feels.
it's definitely very exciting. Like I just never thought that I would get any of the opportunities that, was given to me. I definitely have to thank my like professors and just other people in the art community in Cleveland and Ohio in general. And like people just like reach out to me and I'm like, and they're just like, oh, do you want to do this? And I'm like, yes, like I'm not gonna like pass up an opportunity. And it just like feels really good to have someone else like believe in you
Hmm.
because I know that when I was growing up, my mom definitely did not approve of me going to art school. She didn't approve
Hmm.
of me majoring in painting and sculpture. So just like having like, oh, someone else believes in you, someone else is like kind of in your corner, backing you up and getting your name out there. Like
Hmm.
being an artist has been the only thing that I've ever wanted to do in my whole entire life. Like that's ever since I was young, I was like, this is the thing that I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be a studio artist. I'm gonna be shown in museums and galleries and like having that
You're
dream
doing
as a
it.
little, yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
And having that dream as a child and then like living it out is very surreal to me because
Hmm.
like even a year ago I didn't think I would be in the place that I am now. So it's
Hmm.
just like I feel very grateful for like everything. So yeah.
Well, and like opportunity and community are awesome, but also like your work also got you there. And so
Yeah,
like
that's
those
true.
things are, yeah, those things
Yeah.
are all very, and I actually want to ask because of course, I read your bio and I
Mhm.
saw that you, um, in addition to studying painting, I forget exactly how it's phrased. It's like extended media
Oh
or,
yeah, sculpture
yeah,
and expanded media.
yeah, expanded media. Um, can I mean, I know they can't see, but can I see some of your sculpture or are like your paintings with the beads and rhinestones also considered like something beyond just
Yeah,
like
my so painting and sculpture for me, it kind of goes hand
mhm,
in hand.
mhm,
So when I make paintings and I use like gems and glitter and
mhm,
foam, that kind of leads into the sculpture aspect. I also do a lot of other stuff. Like I make like hair kind of like sculptures,
mhm.
like hair weavings. Um, and I've made like mirrors. I've made like this mirror harp one time. It was
That's like
like
awesome.
I just like I really want to get into making like more like home decor things. It's like
Hmm.
super like different than what I do now, but I'm super like into interior design. So I'm just like, I just want to make some home decor and be in the wood shop and like kind of like add my little like taste to it. So like doing
Mhm.
the bright colors and doing the glitter and like stuff like that and just like make home decor that like kind of looks like that. Whether
Mhm.
it's for myself or it would be shown somewhere. It's kind of just like a fun like side thing I would like to do. But yeah,
Wait,
so
but
like the
we have to backpedal just a little bit because I want to get in here and ask about this harp. Like, you have to tell me
oh
more about a mirror harp. That sounds magical.
Oh yeah, it's in my house. It's downstairs, and it's basically a like chartreuse, like lime green
Hmm.
harp. So it is a mirror, like the top part is a mirror,
Hmm.
and then the bottom part is the harp part, and it's like cut out. So it's
Oh.
like decor slash functional piece. So
But
like
does it stand or like hang on the
yeah, it
wall?
hangs on the wall. It
Okay,
hangs on the
okay.
wall. So like you approach it, you see yourself in the mirror, and then you can kind of just like play with it a little bit. It's not like
Oh,
super
nice.
like functional where you like take it off and like play as a harp. It's
Hmm.
just more of like a project that I did in school and we just had to make an instrument. And I was like, I want to make something that I can put in my house, but
Hmm.
also that's like still considered functional. So that's what I did. But
Nice.
yeah,
No, that sounds beautiful.
thank
Yeah, because
you.
when you said mirror harp, I was like, I can't even envision what this is.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah, that's awesome.
thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. I did cut you off and you were telling me about how you're like you want to do pieces that exist in people's homes and you
Yes.
want to explore all these other like facets of your artistry too.
Yeah, I think that I'm just the type of person I really want to do everything. I want to do all the things. And that can be like very overwhelming, but I still very much want to do that. So I want to make like home decor, I want to make art, I want to make hair weavings. And I think me being in sculpture and painting really helps me be able to blend the two together. But then
Mm-hmm.
I also want to be able to like separate it and do like my hair weavings and do like home decor things and build whatever, but then also be able to be like, oh, I'm gonna do painting now, but I'm still gonna add like those 3D elements. I don't know. Anything I do, there has to be some type of 3D element in there. And everything has to have glitter or gems. I don't know. It's just like I love shiny things. So anything I
I
do
also
just
love
it
shiny
has
things.
yes, it has to have that in there. So
Well, yeah, and like your pieces are so eye-catching already. I mean, I've never seen them in person, fortunately, but like I can only imagine what all the bright colors look like when they're reflected on all those
mhm.
different like you said, like shiny things and it just
Yeah,
yeah. Hmm.
I love um I know I don't want this to sound weird, but I just love my work in like a gallery setting
That
because of
doesn't
like
sound
those
weird.
because of like the gallery lights, and the
Hmm.
gallery lights add so much to it because it becomes super like iridescent and glittery
Hmm.
and shiny, and like there's different shadows, and it's like it looks really nice. And that's why like whenever like I tell people about my work, it's like you have to see it in person. It's like really hard to like yes, pictures are like great, but like the pictures don't do it justice. It doesn't
Hmm.
even look anything like, I mean, obviously it looks like the picture, but it doesn't look half as near like what the picture looks like. So definitely like seeing it in person is
Hmm.
awesome always. I think seeing art in general in person is better than seeing it, on a
On a
screen.
screen. Yeah,
Yeah.
no. Always, always. Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm so you sound it seems like you have your hand in lots of different things. Like you've already told me, like you do
Hmm.
weavings, you do some sculptural pieces, you do work in wood shop,
Hmm.
you do paintings, you do all of these different things, and you said yourself like you like to do different things. So how do you has it always just been a thing where like you just had access to these or like people were like, hey, come try this with me? Or did you seek these opportunities out? Like how did you get involved in so many forms of media?
I think it's just like I've always been very like experimental. Like I'm
Hmm.
very much like, okay, like I don't really know what this medium is, but let's try it. Like, what could
Hmm.
go wrong? Like I'm just,
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick my fingers into a lot of different mediums and kind of try everything. And then once I like something, I'm like, okay, I'll stick with that. Like when I first started making artwork at the other college I used to go to, I went to a community college, Michigan,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't making like any of the work that I'm making now. Like, yes, I would paint and I would use like a little bit of glitter. But then when I went to the Cleveland Institute of Art, I was like, I have to like elevate everything. Like I want to, really push myself.
Mm-hmm.
So, I took a lot of different classes. I took a painting class. We did oil painting, and I was like, oil painting's not really my thing because I like using materials.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I started experimenting with like great foam and like molding paste and glitter and gems and yarn and just like all the things, just everything, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of like combining it all into like a painting, um, definitely like made me feel like joyous. I was like, oh, like this is like what I need to be doing. I need to be using all these materials and kind of like putting them together.
Mm-hmm.
At first, it wasn't like the most prettiest thing because I wasn't skilled in using all these mediums. But once you like harness kind of like all the knowledge that you've gained from experimenting, I
Mm-hmm.
was able to use them in a more like professional way, I guess, like a more kind of like harnessed way where it didn't look like I'm just placing like glitter on there. I'm not just placing gems,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm meticulously like placing each element on my painting to kind of make it cohesive.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to like the hair weaving stuff, a lot of the work that I've made um in painting has been about hair and like
Mm-hmm.
female empowerment and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that, and like growth, and not even just like hair growth but like spiritual growth and
Mm-hmm.
just like growing into yourself. And so with the hair weavings in my sculpture class, I was like, you know what, I do paintings about hair, but what if I like made sculptures using like actual synthetic hair, and like sometimes
Mm-hmm.
I'll use my own hair.
Mm-hmm.
So I would always use used hair. So I would use hair that I would have in, like I would have braids in, or I would have butterfly locks in. And then once
Mm-hmm.
I take them out, I would use that hair to make a weaving or kind of like other hair sculptures.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just a different way for me to communicate something that I was already communicating in painting. I was just
Mm-hmm.
doing it more of a, traditional way. Like I was using the actual material instead of using other materials like glitter and foam to portray hair in my paintings. I was using the actual medium. So I
Mm-hmm.
really enjoyed, you know, going from, the unconventional medium to the synthetic hair. Like it was just like, I was like, I need to do two different things, but I want to say the same message.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's what I've been doing.
So do you find, well, I'm kind of curious how this translates to like, mm, give me a second. I
Oh
have
no,
so
you
many
good.
thoughts and I'm like trying to organize them in a coherent phrase. Okay, so I guess I'm thinking two things at this moment because I'm still thinking about um which like obviously I would still be thinking about how you are so experimental and how you use so many different things and how you like to create so many different types of pieces.
Mhm.
Um and I'm also thinking about this focus on hair and maybe it's just for me um like it might not be exactly what you said um because you said you want to portray hair in lots of different ways and you want to explore that idea of like personal growth
Mhm.
um, through the way hair is represented and hair is seen and interacted with. Um, and I know in my experience as a Black woman, like not everything comes back to hair, of course, but hair is such a huge reflection of like everything else in your life.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering how those ideas translate to work that isn't overtly about hair. Like, where I don't look at it and say, oh, I see a girl playing with her baby doll's hair, or I see her getting her hair done, or I see like hair woven into this pattern. Like, is that an idea that you see translates through the other things that you create as well? Or do you think that that's something that's like particular to this moment of creation for you?
Um, I think that the work that I've made in the past couple of years have definitely dealt with hair in general,
Hmm.
especially Black women's hair and just the journey that it is. And I think more of the newer work I want to into, I feel like I'm doing this now,
Hmm.
is more about Afrofuturism. It's
Hmm.
something that I'm very passionate about. It's something that I kind of already do. Um, and I think kind of like combining both of them,
Hmm.
still talking about hair, but also talking about, this Afrofuturistic world. And I think that the materials and colors and portraits I portray and like the backgrounds, I think everything kind of lends itself to Afrofuturism also. So I definitely still want to make work about hair, whether it's more on the, sculpture side or if it's more on the painting side. I still want to
Hmm.
do that, but then I also still want to like get more into Afrofuturism. So there's just like a lot I
Hmm.
I still have to like think about for sure. And there's like so much like art that I want to make that
Hmm.
has nothing to do with like hair at all. Like
Hmm.
I want to make art about identity and like me, and I want to make work. So a little background before I get into
Hmm.
this. Um my mother used to be Amish, so I come
Hmm.
from, I have Amish roots, and then my father is out of the picture, right? And
Hmm.
so I wanted to talk about how it was for me as a like little black child to be around um like a whole different type of group of people,
Hmm.
and I wanted to like make work about that. And I've written a lot about it like in my journals, like how I felt growing up, um kind of being in that space where like everybody is looking at you and you don't know how to speak their language and stuff like that. And I definitely wanted to make work about that, kind of going more in about identity and like feeling like you're lost in the world. Um,
Hmm.
Also, I wanted to talk about me being a biracial woman and, just talking about how I feel like I don't really have like a place in this world or like a group to like go to, I guess.
Hmm.
And I've been reading lots of books. So if we want to talk about books, we can talk about books.
Hmm.
Um, but I've been reading lots of different types of books and kind of reading other people's like testimonies about like how they feel about being, someone who is biracial and not feeling like they have a place. So I definitely want to make work about that in the future. I just think that I have a lot more of like healing to do in order
Hmm.
to make work about that, because it's just a long journey, and it's like a journey of like accepting yourself and loving yourself. And like once I do both of those things, I think that I can finally make work about it. So yeah.
Hmm. You said so much that I want to ask you about, and I'm like,
Okay.
I'm like trying to figure out what to ask first.
Mhm.
I guess this you like kind of already answered it when you said you don't speak the language, but I was going to ask like if you picked up any Dutch or
Oh yeah, so I can teach you some. I
yes,
know a little
please,
bit.
yeah.
I know a little bit. So anytime I would go over to my aunt's house, she had a trampoline. And anytime me and my sister would jump on the trampoline, my aunt would yell out trampoline tumba. And trampoline tumba means jumping on trampoline. So
Oh,
like it always just stuck with me because I was like, oh, I was like a little kid jumping on a trampoline. It's like trampoline tumba, trampoline tumba.
oh.
And it was just like funny to
Mhm.
me. Viva Stu is how are you?
Wait,
Um,
Viva Stew.
yeah, Viva Stu is how are you? I can't really remember any more right now. I don't know. My mom, it was weird growing up. and kind of like going over to my grandma's and her being Amish because since me and my sister didn't really know the language, they would always like talk about us, like in their language in Dutch. I mean, you could tell when someone's talking about you or if
Hmm.
they don't want you to know something. So, but yeah, I definitely regret like not learning as much as I could have. I think, I mean, my mom just wasn't really interested in teaching me and my sister Dutch, but I think now I would be like very willing to like learn and get back
Hmm.
into it because um I know so many Amish people, so I'm like I would like to actually be able to speak to them.
Hmm.
But yeah.
I was okay. This might sound stupid, or
Oh no, you're fine.
but okay. So your aunt who spoke Dutch, so I'm assuming she was also Amish at the time.
Yeah. So on my mom's side, everyone on my mom's side is Amish. My mom is no longer Amish.
Hmm.
She left the Amish. But yeah, everyone else is still Amish. So whenever I was like younger and we would have like, family nights or we would go over for like Thanksgiving or Christmas and stuff like that, I would go over there and it was just kind of like kind of a culture shock, I guess. Like it was definitely different than like I'm living at home. I'm able to, go on my computer and my tablet or whatever, and then I go over there nothing like no phones, no
Hmm.
electricity, nothing like that, oil lamp things.
Hmm.
um yeah, so it was definitely different, but it made me like feel humble. I was like, oh, this is humble living, like this could be nice.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was, I don't know, thinking about it just like brings me back to all like the very simple times when like I didn't have to think about, responsibilities. Like I felt like I didn't
Hmm.
have any responsibilities. And every time I go to my grandma's house, she would have homemade cookies every single time. Me and my sister would come there and we would jump on the trampoline or we would go in the barn and we would play with the chickens or like play with like the kittens and stuff. And it was just like simpler times. And I definitely would like to make work about that because, or
Hmm.
like even just like write like a book about it. I've been
Hmm.
thinking about that. So I think either writing a book or making work about it would definitely help like fulfill like those memories and just kind of like having them on paper and being able to remember them forever.
Hmm. Well, and I mean, not to be like super simplistic, but like, and not everything is about race, but hearing
Mhm.
about a black person's
Yeah,
Amish experience, like I've never heard of that before. Um,
yeah.
which I'm sorry,
It's
not to like
yeah.
other, I'm sorry, but
No, it's definitely crazy. Like growing up and going there, me and my sister would definitely have like eyes on us because like if you are Amish, you don't see a lot of black people. That is just
Mhm.
one. And there are not a
Mhm.
lot of Amish people that are black.
Mhm.
Um, so I mean they definitely accepted me and my sister. Like they were very accepting. They were not like mean or anything. They were not racist or anything like
But
that.
it's different.
Yeah, but it's definitely different. It's definitely
Mhm.
like way, way different. And so hearing like every time I tell someone that I'm Amish, they're like, "What?" Like I'm like, "No, I'm not Amish. I just have Amish family." But yeah, they're always like very shocked because it's just not like you don't hear that every day.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's definitely weird, but it's good, you know.
Mhm. Well, and yeah, if they, I mean, it sounds like you had a loving upbringing. But okay, the stupid question I was going to ask, sorry,
Mhm.
the trampoline they had, did they make it themselves or did they like just buy it? Like,
Oh,
yeah, that was my stupid
um,
question.
I don't know. I would assume they bought it.
Bought it,
Yeah, they
yeah.
definitely bought it. Um, See, Amish people aren't like too different from us. They don't have electricity or anything, but they still go to stores and they
Hmm.
still buy similar things that we do. But I mean, sometimes you see Amish people like
Like at
in like
Walmart,
a Walmart or
yeah.
like
Hmm.
you see them. There's a lot of like especially where my grandma lives, there's a lot of like discount stores. So they
Hmm.
like go to like those stores or they go to stores that are more directed towards Amish people, but it's not just for Amish people. Like it's for
Hmm.
everyone, but it's like more just like within their community. So they go there because it's close.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Well, okay, and I didn't want to like I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness, which I feel like is another thing where people don't know a lot about it if you're not in the culture.
Hmm.
So I like wanted to ask you, but I was like, I don't know if that's insensitive, but like I don't know
No,
because
no, you can really
I'm
ask
not
me
close with Amish
anything.
people.
You can ask me anything. Are you asking if like I was or
No,
they
I just
are?
wanted to know about the trampoline, but then I was like, that might seem stupid, but like I had always heard that like I have seen Amish people in like
Hmm.
at gas stations or in Walmart. Um,
Yeah.
but I had always grown up thinking that they typically tried not like they didn't like they used stuff that they made themselves. That's what I learned.
Yeah, no, like
Yeah.
that is like a lot. Like I think that Amish people nowadays are more like progressive. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
definitely like, especially when I was younger, what you're saying, like, they like made a lot of the things that they have, like that is definitely true. But there also are some things that they didn't make. So for
Mm-hmm.
example, my grandpa, he had like a shop. And so in the shop he would make, it wasn't just my grandpa, it was my grandpa and my uncle, and
Mm-hmm.
they would make like stuff for like horses, so like harnesses and like stuff like that. And they would
Mm-hmm.
have a shop, so they had like a little, on one side of the shop it was like a welding area, and then the
Mm-hmm.
other side of the shop is where people could actually come and like purchase the products and stuff like that. So like
Mm-hmm.
there are some things that they actually make, and then there are some other things that they, like a trampoline, they just like buy that,
Mm-hmm.
um like for like furniture and stuff. Like
Mm-hmm.
some of it's bought and some of it's made. It's just like very much like back and forth. So yeah, I think it's just like
Cool.
it's what it's, yeah, it's in the middle.
Thank you for answering my questions.
Oh yeah, you're good.
Yeah. Okay, so I there were a couple of things I wanted to like there was one thing I wanted to bring up and one thing I wanted to ask you and one thing I think I forgot. So I'm
Okay.
gonna lay them all out and then you can choose. Hopefully the third one
Okay.
will come to me while I'm talking. I don't know if it will, but
Okay.
and then you can choose. Um, so the first thing, like going way, way back, I was interested in um when you mentioned that you are creating work um around Afrofuturism and that's what you want to create work
Hmm.
around. Um, because I whenever I hear that term, I'm always kind of confused without more context if like people are talking about like black sci-fi novels or if people are talking about like the actual principle of like us existing in the future and what that looks like. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, which can
I
be like
can,
very
yeah.
different and also the same. Do you want to talk about that one?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
So my kind of like knowledge of what Afrofuturism is, I feel like Afrofuturism could be a lot of different things, but
Mm-hmm.
my takeaway from Afrofuturism is that Black people belong in the future. So,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Yes.
I am just within my paintings, I'm kind of just creating this world where Black people can exist without, like internal and external like struggles. It's kind
Mm-hmm.
of like this this perfect like place where we can live in and
Mm-hmm.
not, you know, have all this other stuff like racial comments and stuff like that. Like it's kind of like this utopia. So that's what I'm creating in a lot
Mm-hmm.
of my paintings. I don't think I'm not really doing it in like my sculptural work, but I think like in my paintings I'm definitely like I'm trying to push it there more, because I know
Mm-hmm.
when people hear Afrofuturism, they're like, oh, sci-fi, science, and like it is based off a lot on science and history. But I think for me, I'm not really going like the sciencey route or the sci-fi route. I'm more so going like this is a future where we can
Mm-hmm.
all collectively belong together and it can be a safe place for all of us. So that's what I've been trying to do. And the way that I view Afrofuturism can be very different from someone else that views it. But in my work, that's just like how I see it. I see it as like this colorful land that we're able to express ourselves. We're able to have whatever hairstyle we want, kind of using patterns, African patterns, using just different patterns in general, as like backgrounds sometimes. And then, using like these 3D elements, shiny materials. Like that's just how
Mm-hmm.
I see Afrofuturism.
Mm-hmm.
But the way I see it can be different than the way that you see it. But when I translate an artwork, that's just how I see it. So I definitely want to like continue doing that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I like thinking about that too, because I think it is important for us to envision what our future can look like. Like you,
Mm-hmm.
it's so much harder to move forward without an imagination, or without a vision of possibility. Um, but this actually kind of ties into the next thing I had wanted to mention too, which was less of a question and more just like a point,
Mm-hmm.
um, to talk about. Of I feel like it's also hard to know where you're going if you don't know where you come from. And I think on one hand, like we know that oftentimes, like Black history is not taught in schools. Black history is
Mm-hmm.
an oral thing that is passed down. Um, and I don't know if that experience is different for you, than it would have been for me, because I grew up. I don't know exactly what your upbringing was, but I know at least part of it was with your Amish family.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I grew up in like an inner city community where everybody had like come up at some point, like, or their parents or their grandparents from the Great Migration. So
Yeah.
we all had like a similar background in that sense. But um, a thought that occurs to me often is that as slave descended people, and I'm assuming that you're like slave descended.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As slave descended people, I feel as though we don't have a homeland. I feel as though we're a culture that was born in an ocean. And so there's only so far back that we can go, um, which I think is an othering feeling. And I think there are ideas of like Pan Africanism where people go back to the continent, and they claim a home there. But for me personally, I don't feel like there can ever be a home anywhere, which is kind of an othering feeling. And it's not always like a depressing feeling. Like I also
Mm-hmm.
feel really great about it because I feel like my home is my community. And so my home is wherever I find people who look like me and who share my history. And like that is enough. And that feels great because even without a land, like we still have such a robust culture. Um, but then I think about sometimes too, like one of my best friends, Casey Gill, who was in the show with you.
Yeah.
Um, we don't talk about it so much anymore, but um, I do have a few close friends who are of different mixed heritages. And one experience that I hear across the board, as far as people who are mixed with like slave descended and white heritage in a more recent, like one parent is white, um,
Mm-hmm.
often have this feeling of like, I didn't always feel like I had a place, or like I have to carve out my place. And it occurred to me when you said that again, that like you want to make art about that, but you, or like just about that experience of being, mixed, but you haven't yet. It occurred to me that even in a culture where we know what it feels like not to have a homeland, and we know what it feels like to already be so othered among people who are the same, like I can't fathom what that experience is like then, not feeling like you have a place in a space of people that already doesn't have a place.
Yeah.
Um, and I am like very jumbled in that thinking, but it was like a vein of thought that I wanted to like bring into the conversation and like see if there was anything left to offer on that.
I think that it's definitely difficult. Um, I think growing up, it was a lot harder because I just didn't know my place in the world. I went to predominantly white schools. I was usually like the one black girl in the class, and I felt like very alone just like growing up. And I felt like I was, you know, in this category like by myself. I mean, of course, I had my sister, but she is a little bit younger than me. And I just didn't like, I don't know. It was definitely some rough times, not, um, I didn't feel okay a lot of the time. And there was a lot of times where like, oh, I wish I like wasn't black, or like I wish I wasn't, you know, I wish I didn't look like this. I wish that my skin wasn't, this dark, and maybe I could like live a normal life. That was my thinking when I was younger. Obviously, I don't think that anymore. Um, but yeah, when I was younger,
Mhm.
it just took a toll on me. And my mother, her being previously Amish, she didn't understand. She's also white, so like it's just hard for her to understand her two black children going to predominantly white schools, and then I would come home and try to talk to her about, things that were going on in school. I would get bullied, I would be called, slurs and stuff like that. And, trying to talk to my mom about that, she didn't really understand, and she wasn't like willing to like do anything about it. So I kind of had to be like my own person in my own corner. Like I had to stick up for myself a lot of the time. And I didn't like know where I came from. So like that was very important to me, is to know where I come from, and just to know more about myself, because no one else was willing to, learn about me, not even my mother. So I think that I had a lot of like healing to do. I still have a lot of healing to do, because even today there is a community out there for me, but it's just like it's kind of like that internal struggle where I still feel like very lost and alone. But I do know that there are other people out there that, may have a similar story as me, who are also, they also feel like they're alone and stuff like that. And honestly, that's kind of why I make the work that I make, and why I want to make work about, not belonging and identity and stuff like that. Because if other people see that and they're able to relate with that, that makes me feel so good. Like if they're
Mhm.
able to approach my painting and be like, like this makes me feel good, because a lot of the work I make now is very celebratory, and I want, you know, black people to approach that and be like, oh, like this makes me feel good about myself, or like, it's okay to wear my hair like this, or it's okay to have my skin tone. The reason I make work is because I want people to, be able to relate to my work. Because
Mhm.
when I was younger, I definitely never saw art that catered towards me, whether it was in the media or whether it was like in a painting or something like that. And so I want to make work that other people can relate to, no matter the age. I mean, obviously, it's more so catered toward the Black community, or just people of color. It's for
Mhm.
everyone, but I am basically making it for, those types of groups of people. So I think that's like the whole reason, like, I wanted to make work that I make right now, is because being able to see people's reactions to my work, and hearing like just like things that they tell me, they're like, oh, like I related with this so much, like this made me feel safe, or just stuff like that. Like it makes me feel good, and it kind of like reassures me that what I'm doing is something that I've always, was supposed to do. And it kind of
Mhm.
like makes me feel like, oh, I made the right choice in life, kind of thing. Like, oh, I like, am not a total failure, and like I am doing something that I love to
Not
do.
showing at
But
MOCA at 22.
yeah.
Yeah, like,
But it just it makes me feel a lot better about myself, that people like my work, and not even just like it, like people don't have to like it, but just kind of like relate with it, or people can say that it looks pretty or whatever. It just like feels good at the end of the day to know that, the path that I chose in life, to do art, because doing art in general is always like a hard thing, and being successful in art is difficult. So just knowing that, I made the right choice, and I'm going to continue, making work forever, probably until I
Mhm.
die, because that's all I want to do. But yeah, it's just, it feels good. And I
Well,
didn't think, oh no, you're,
no, go ahead, go ahead.
and I just didn't think that this feeling would ever come. Because when I was younger, it was just like, when you're young and you have these dreams and aspirations and goals, and you never really think that, things are going to work out for you. But, if you have determination, and I'm a very hopeful person, and I also am like very into manifestation. So like I'm like
No, there is
manifesting my
power.
future. I'm manifesting
Hmm.
my future. I'm like getting it out there. You know, I'm speaking on it. I'm gonna do this and this and this, and journaling and like doing all that type of stuff. I'm like, yes, this is what I need to be doing. And I feel now I'm a lot more confident in it,
Hmm.
because it's kind of like this destiny thing. Like I feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and there's nothing else in the world that I need to be doing besides this.
Hmm.
And so I feel confident in that, because I'm like, well, if there's nothing else to do, this is the only thing I'm going to do. So it's like, it's gonna
It
work
will
out.
work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it will work.
Hmm.
There's not like any doubt in that anymore, because I felt like a couple of years ago I was very doubtful in my success, of being an artist. But I feel like now, I'm still a little artist. I'm still a little, you know, not everyone in the world knows me, but that will change one day. And it just like, I don't know, it's like it's like exciting feeling, but it's also like a very nerve-wracking feeling, because I
Mm.
am more of like a shy person. I don't know. I feel like I'm shy, but I feel very shy, and just like knowing that there's so much more to come. There's just so much. And thinking about the future is kind of overwhelming for me, because like I said, I want to do like so many things that are art related. So it's just like it's a lot, but it's like thrilling, and it's kind of like an adrenaline rush a little bit. But it's also really, really scary, because everything is kind of unpredictable and non guaranteed. But like I'm okay with that. I'm okay with
Hmm.
things not being guaranteed. Um, but yeah, just scary, but also good.
Well, like nothing in life is guaranteed, but
Yeah,
it's serving you. And like you said, like manifestation is real and there's power in the human spirit. And when you decide you're going to do something and it's going to work out, like you see the fruits of like not only
yeah,
your labor, but also that spirit. Like it does. Like you attract the things that you give to the world. Um, which is awesome and
yeah. I
scary,
definitely
but
agree.
like
Yeah,
yeah.
it is scary. I
Hmm.
think more people need to manifest,
Hmm.
for sure, because it is very powerful.
Well, so I'm actually kind of curious what sorts of art things have been feeding you. Um, because you mentioned how like when you were younger, you felt like there weren't things that spoke to like you
Hmm.
yourself. Um, and I know personally, like there are a few people who I think about Afrofuturism in their works a lot. Like right now, immediately on the forefront of my mind, I'm thinking of like Moses Sumney or like Solange. And I
Yes.
see you have a little Tyler the Creator, well not little, but
Yeah.
a Tyler the Creator tapestry. I love him. Um, so yeah, I'm like curious what sorts of things feed you, what sorts of things feel like they could either fuel your work or like be in conversation with the same ideas that you're working
Yeah.
on and towards.
So you're talking about music. I love music.
Hmm.
Every person you just mentioned, I'm in love with. I am probably one of Moses Sumney's like biggest fan.
I
Like
love
I
him so
love
much.
Moses Sumney.
Hmm.
I have, his record over here, like always on repeat. I remember the first time listening to Moses Sumney, and I was on a train to New York, and it was
Hmm.
like, no, I was coming back. I was coming back from New York, and the train ride was like 12 hours long. And
Wait,
I,
what project was it by Moses?
oh, what's the song? I can look on my phone.
Yes, please.
I can look right now,
Because I
because
have one album that I would like literally lay on my dorm floor and we had like floor to ceiling windows, and I would just watch the rain for hours until I want to know if
So
it's the same.
the album that I have right now is Aromanticism.
Okay, yeah,
And
that was my like watch the rain album.
yes, I love that album so much. That was not the album I listened to when I was on the train. I listened to, I think
Was it
it's
one of
called
his
Gray.
earlier EPs? Oh, it
Yeah,
was
it
Gray.
was, yeah, Gray.
Hmm.
And the song, what was the song? I'm trying to see. Or maybe, was it the other album? Oh, it was, no, it was the other album. It was Aromanticism and it was Doom. And that song, like I
Mhm.
listened to it for 12 hours straight. I'm a crazy person. I like made a playlist. I was like, I want this one song on it, and I'm gonna
Hmm.
listen to it for 12 hours straight. And like I
Until
just
it's
felt it,
literally on my
yeah,
mind, in my mind,
it,
rent free. Yeah.
ingrained in my
Hmm.
brain. And I just like ever since I listened to that song, I listened, to more of Moses Sumney's music. And I remember my sophomore year
Hmm.
in college, anytime I would paint, Moses Sumney would always
Hmm.
be on. And it just like made me, I don't know, it like filled my spirit. Like it gave me like, it made me feel different. Like I don't think I've ever listened to music that really like, you listen to music and you feel something, but this like made me feel something. Like it was like a deeper connection for me. And
Hmm.
so I was like, Moses Sumney, I love you. Like, so good.
Hmm. Such a
And I
gem.
love, yes, I love Solange. I love Tyler.
Hmm.
I'm very big into music, and anytime I work, I'm usually listening to music. Like if we like I would have music on right now if I could. Like
Hmm.
I just it's something that like kind of like calms me down, especially when I make work. And I have like my certain playlists, but I'm mostly listening to like Moses and like I listen to like JPEG Mafia. I listen
Hmm.
to listen to Brockhampton. I'll listen to
Hmm.
some other people, and I'm usually doing that while I'm working, and then reading books.
Yes, tell
I
me about the books that you've been reading.
Yes. So actually, can I go get
Yeah,
them and
yeah,
tell
yeah,
you?
get it.
Okay, cool. Okay.
I forgot that you had in AirPods as well because I was like, oh wow, I hear you so clearly even
Oh
even
yeah,
further
yeah.
away.
Okay. So I have more, but my friend is borrowing the other one. So the one that my friend is borrowing is called The Delectable Negro, and it's
I have been
actually
told to read this. Yeah.
it is so good, but so like
I don't know if I'm ready. Yeah.
I had to take a lot of breaks reading it.
Hmm.
Like I like read the first couple pages and I was like, damn, like I
Hmm.
need to like put this down for a second and like really contemplate. Like anytime I read that book, I haven't finished reading it, but anytime I read like a couple pages, I have to write about it. And
Hmm.
so that's the type of book I'm gonna really take my time with and write on it a lot, like write just in my journal while I read it. But the other book is this book. It's called White Rage,
Hmm.
and it's basically just talking about like the racial divide in our country and structural racism, like stuff like that. And I definitely recommend this book. It's very good. Let's see, I've only read like maybe 2 or 3 chapters of it so far.
Hmm.
And then this book, Medical
Okay.
Apartheid, it is so good. There's this lady that I watch on YouTube, and her name is Joy DeGruy,
Hmm.
and she talked about um he kind of talked about this book and like the experimentations on Black Americans from like colonial times to like the present times. And then she also talked about post-traumatic slave disorder.
Hmm.
And you need to watch that video. It is so amazing. Like I've told people about this video so much because it puts everything that I felt
Hmm.
into like words, and it just talks about, I don't know. I don't really want to speak on too much because I feel like I
Hmm.
can't explain it as well as her. But if you ever want me to send you the video, I can. She does like
Yeah, you
a
can.
lot of a lot of different videos on YouTube, mostly talking about like slavery and where we come from and just stuff like that. And she is very, very well educated and more than qualified to talk about all of these things. So yeah, those are the two books I'm reading. The medical apartheid one is also one that I'm like, it's a little bit harder to read because
Mm-hmm.
of the medical terms and just like the big words. I always have to look up words anytime I'm reading this book,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just interesting for me to learn about, you know, medical experimentations on Black Americans
Mm-hmm.
like during those times and even present. So I just want to be educated about, the
Mm-hmm.
history of things because, knowledge is power. So
It
I'm
is.
very much yeah, so those are the books I've been reading. Um More like educational books, I guess.
Yeah, I
I
was gonna
have
say I was like
Yeah, I haven't really been
hoping for
reading
some
much.
novels, maybe. I personally do not lean toward, or at least in this moment of my life, I am not leaning towards nonfiction writing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm trying to think. I mean, like in school, you like, you read books. I had to read like a few
Mhm.
books while I was in school in the classes I had, but I think
Even
I'm
in
more
art
just,
school, you're given
yeah,
like,
yeah. So in my one cultural anthropology class, we
oh,
had
okay.
to, yeah, it's like
Hmm.
non like a studio class. I mean, in studio classes, you still read. It's just more like you read about articles and stuff
Hmm.
like
And like
that.
techniques and yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But for my cultural anthropology class, we had to read this one book and it was like super eye-opening. I loved it. It wasn't long. Usually when you take these classes, they don't give you like long books, which is
Hmm.
good. But yeah, I've just been more interested in reading like educational books, really learning about our history. So
Hmm.
I'm like, I'm digging that. I'm
I'm
gonna
glad they're feeding you.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It is important. And I find I also, I'm actually kind of amazed. I don't know if it's just because you're better than I am or if it's because you
Oh
go to art school.
no.
Oh no, no, but I like when I was in classes, I was so sick of reading. By the time I got home, I did not want to touch another book. I was like,
Yeah.
give me anything else. Give me some music, give me some TV. I'll take a walk. I'm not touching no books.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I feel like I just don't read as much as I like would like to, especially in school. Like I'm always like having to make work and kind of be in like production mode where it's like,
Mm,
okay, you gotta go to the studio today, you gotta make work, you have classes where you have to write and stuff. And if I have like a little break here and there, I'll just like take my book out of my bag and start reading.
mhm,
Or when I come home, I don't know. I feel like when I was growing up, I never got taught any of these things. Like
mm,
I
mhm.
never what's that one book? It's called the like the blue eye or like the blue
Oh, The
eye.
Bluest Eye by Toni
Yes.
Morrison. Hmm.
I never read that book when I was younger. And my
Well,
teacher,
that might be for the, I mean, Tony is heavy.
well, yeah, yeah. But I know that like I was talking to my other friends and they were like, "Oh yeah, like I read that book when I was like a couple years ago or whatever, or like when I was younger." And I was like, "Oh, interesting. Like I never even read that book." But I don't expect to, know about that book because I did go to predominantly white schools. So I'm not, assuming that they're gonna have those type of books. But I read it and I was like, wow, like is this is deep, but also like
Mhm.
I'm glad that I read it. And so I
And
just
she's a
want
beautiful
to,
writer.
yes,
Hmm.
and I just want to continue just, reading about, my history because I just feel like I have felt like so lost for a long time. And so I'm hoping that once I become more educated and, learn about all these things, that I will feel like more fulfilled in a way where I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, because my mother never talked about these things, and in school they never talked about these things, and we only spent one day on slavery, and that was
Hmm.
it. Like, and I just wanted to know more, and I just
Hmm.
want to know like everything. So I'm just gonna, keep reading, keep doing that.
Hmm. Well, and to that point too, like I think also a reality that is not always at the fault. Like, yes, our educational system fails us when they don't teach
Hmm.
us our history, but individuals, a lot of times, like, there are lots of Black people who don't know our history,
Hmm.
and like, because it's something that's kept from us, like, your teachers might not have even known what they didn't
Yeah.
know, like,
Hmm.
which is sad, and it at the detriment of, I think, everyone, like, not just the Black students who will pass through that school, but like the white students too, because nobody knows what the history is, or like the
Hmm.
well, but yeah. I am glad that you are able to find books that like feel enriching, and they give you a glimpse at a history that you haven't like been
Hmm.
able to engage with. Um, but I am also kind of curious, so like, are there things that you've read since you started actually, I want to ask first. So that book, The Medical Apartheid, I'm assuming is pretty heavy if it's talking about
Oh
experimentation. And I
yeah.
know like The
Hmm.
Bluest Eye is heavy. I haven't read that one, but I've read lots of other Tony books. Um, and The Delectable Negro I know is heavy. Um, I'm curious if there's anything that you've read that has felt like fulfilling or enriching in a way that seemed hopeful to, and like gives you a better vision of what this Afrofuturist life can look like. Um, yeah, like, that's what I'm curious on.
Yeah, I think reading the books I read now, it is not, it doesn't really like, I definitely have hope, but I think the books that I'm reading now more so lends to like, this is like the reality of the
Mm,
past and this is the
mm-hmm,
reality of the now. Um, like I said earlier, I'm a very hopeful person and I will always be a hopeful person. I'm very optimistic. I'm always thinking, things will get better. Things will get better. Our world will get better. I'm hoping, that people will become more accepting. I think that reading like testimonials, like for me, especially
mm-hmm,
people who are also biracial, like reading about their story and being able to relate with them, that
mm-hmm,
gives me hope for myself, I guess, because I'm like, oh, like, there's other people out there that are like me. It's not,
mm-hmm,
I'm not alone in this world, and I think that having conversations with um my friends, my Black friends, in particular, having these conversations, like talking about, you know, the world. I was literally talking with my friend on the phone literally last night. So I'm glad that you brought this up. I was
mm-hmm,
talking to him last night and we were just talking about like the state of the world. And we were talking about, like, is there hope? Like, is there hope for a better future for us? And I mean, we both agreed that there was. Will the words, I'm sorry.
no, you're okay.
There's going to be a lot of steps to take in order to get there. But
Mm-hmm,
I think that, and I was talking to him about how, you have so much hope and you can advocate so much, but sometimes when you advocate and you hope so much, you kind of get like worn out because you don't
mm-hmm,
see any change. You don't see any change in the world. And I feel like there's like me as a person, you and I, we cannot change the world. One singular person cannot change the world.
mm-hmm,
But if we have a collective, a group of people that are thinking like-mindedly,
mm-hmm,
there can definitely be a change. But it's just like I know that some people are like unmotivated. Even I get unmotivated sometimes. And there are a lot of people in this world that are like have a I don't care attitude. And I just think that we all just need to care more. Like truly, all just need to care a lot more. And I don't know, it's just like it's so much to talk about. Like I was talking for hours with my friend about this because it was just I want I want things to change. and I know that I can't do it alone. And I know that that change might not even come while I'm still alive, but I am hopeful that the
Mm-hmm.
change will come eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that will be for the better. So it's a lot.
Um, it is, but even though change happens slowly, it does happen. And I think, like, even looking back on the experiences, like, so Medical Apartheid is another book that I might not read anytime soon.
Mhm.
But thinking about looking back on the experiences of like even okay, it's not important. But things do change. Things they
Mhm.
go slowly, but they do change. Like we can live places we weren't always able to live. Like I think of instances of medical racism in my family that like now just I can't see happening without repercussion that back then it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
And so it can be heartbreaking, but I think even just knowing that there are like-minded people and even just knowing that change eventually does come sometimes has to be enough and it doesn't feel like enough, but I think that's a part of like the theorizing on a better future and creating
Mhm.
art for a better future is that eventually it will come. And so we just like lay the stones for someone else to finally build the house that we all need or
Yeah.
build the
I
future we
agree.
need. Yeah. But are there any thoughts that you wanted to leave our viewers with? We're coming up on time.
I don't know. Like, I just thoughts in general,
Anything.
anything.
Hmm.
Um, well, I would like to say that I will always believe that Black people belong in the future. And I know that's such like it sounds like such a simple statement, but it is very true. And it's something that I'm advocating for within my art. And it's something that I believe in so strongly because so much of ourselves are already erased. And,
Hmm.
we do belong in the future. We do. And that's why I want to, get into more about Afrofuturism and like showcase that, like we belong here and we're not going anywhere. So I guess I will end with that.
Yes. So everybody carry that hopeful torch of we belong there and we will be there and it will be for the better. Um, okay, thank you so much for joining us,
Thank
Crystal.
you.
Thank you to our listeners. Us here, talk to you guys next month. Have a great day, sending love and light.